I can't believe we are into the second half of the year already. Where did 2024 go? I definitely had a big reading list planned for myself, but moving across countries wasn't something I had planned this year. This led to a big shift in how much I could read and enjoy in the first half of the year. But hey, the good news is I managed to read 6 Indian fiction books this year already. One of my biggest priorities at this time is to read Indian writing as much as I can and find out which books are good and which are not. But the problem is, there's no black and white answer. Not every book is for everyone. So let's start and find out who these 6 fiction books are for and if they are even good. First up, I have The Celebrity CEO by Thomson Robert. Thomson Robert is a busy and highly successful professional working at a big four who also writes books on the side. I read his debut novel almost like 4 years ago and really enjoy his relatable books with a lesson at the end. This year, I read his latest release called The Celebrity CEO. It's about this tech CEO who messes up big time and gets into a lot of trouble. What happens now? Written with the same fast paced and easy to read writing style that I have come to relate to Thomson Roberts' writing, it's definitely something to pick up for beginner readers. A full review of the book is linked down below in the description, so do check it out. Next, I have The Song of the Trinity by Vadhan. Again, an author I have read before and I have worked with before. I had read his thriller called The Viman Transcripts almost like 2 years ago. And his latest release is actually even better, in my opinion. It's called Song of the Trinity, which is a fantasy thriller. It's actually a part of a new fantasy series, and I can't wait to get my hands on the second book whenever it gets published. The story of this book is about this evil entity, Kali, who is currently locked up in a special prison and is trying to break free. And our heroes of the story are trying to stop that. You have a lot of characters from Indian mythology and a lot of sci-fi touch to it as well. The full review of the book is again linked down below in the description, so do check it out. Another book that I read recently is Amongst the Believers by Koshari C. Shibu. It's a sequel to a book I read like 6 years ago, Men and Dreams in the Dhauladar. The story picks up from book 1 and has a terrorist on the run, Khusru. There's Rekha, who is now free but unable to move on from her love for Khusru. And then there's Nand, who's forced to become a spy. Lots of travel in this book, lots of detail and research. So do check out the full review of this book from the link in the description. Next up, I read 2 horror books. Finally, I have read some good number of Stephen King books. Like not a lot, but I have read Carrie, The Shining, Doctor Sleep, Salem's Lot, and even tried my hand at books like It and Pet Cemetery, but didn't end up finishing these. However, when you ask me of how many Indian horror books I have read, my head would bow down in shame because I had just like one book in my list. A rather disappointing set of short stories I read in this book called The Other Side by Faraz Ghazi and Vivek Banerjee. Clearly, I needed to fix my mistake of not picking enough horror fiction by Indian authors. So, I tried Neil De Silva's Ringa Ringa Roses, and even though I love this author for his contributions to the Indian horror genre, I didn't like this book very much. So this year I was desperate to pick up some like good horror books that I would like. And then I found these two. They are actually the best selling Indian horror books at this time. First one is That Night by Nidhi Upadhyay, which is about these group of friends in a girls' hostel who play a prank that goes terribly wrong. There's a supernatural element to this book, but mostly it's a thriller. So for those of you who are just like very scared, to read horror books, try this one. It's less horror, but more of a thriller. But yes, still a horror book. I really liked it. And then there's a collection of short stories, short ghost stories called Ghost of the Silent Hills by Anita Krishnan. I somehow loved this book way more than I expected. Like a few stories were like really interesting and spooky. Not all of them are at the same level, of course, but that's expected. I don't usually like short stories because I feel like they don't give you enough, but this one kind of passed for me. So yes, I really loved it. I hope to do a more in-depth video on both of these books separately on the channel, so stay tuned. And make sure you hit the bell button to ensure you get all the notifications. And even subscribe to my newsletter, okay? It's down below in the description. And lastly, I finally started reading another best-selling book series, the Hidden Hindu Trilogy. At the time of making this video, I have finished 2 books and I'm already like almost halfway into the third book. It's a book about this mysterious Agori who claims he has been alive since the times of Ramayana and Mahabharata. And this guy is now captured and is being interrogated and forced to divulge some like dangerous secrets. And there's also this whole mystery around like who he really is. What is his past? Because he's not a Chiranjeevi like those like seven immortals we have in the Hindu mythology. He's somebody different. So how does he come to be and how is he alive since that time if he is actually telling the truth? Honestly, the first book was kind of like disappointing for me. I gave it like 3 out of 5 stars because of like how little content it actually holds. But I'm waiting to finish the whole trilogy before I speak of my final review and my final thoughts on the book and discuss them with you, which I'm sure you will catch on because you have subscribed to my channel, right? And you're going to watch all the videos, right? But if you have read this book or trilogy, I mean, tell me what you think. And if you are like hoping to pick any of the books that I have mentioned in today's video, use the links in the description to shop. That will help me support this channel further and further. So thank you so much for watching. This is Madhvi signing off. I'll be back with another video very soon.